childhood wasn't the best. My dad wanted kids, and my mom didn't want anything to do with them. So that made it harder when my dad died. My mom didn't have very good luck with relationships, nothing but bad picks. One guy, his name was Jay. He was the worst. He would beat me, put me in a closet for days at a time. And one day, he looked me up and down. I didn't say anything. And he started touching me, It happened for about a year. And one day, the door opened. It was the police. And DCS, they told my foster parents I needed counseling. And so they recommended Headwaters Counseling. Not too long after I met my first therapist, I switched foster homes. And my new foster parents, they didn't want to bring me anymore. Kept moving from foster home to foster home a lot. One of the other foster families I was with, one actually tried to treat me like Jay did. And he started touching me. I ran away from that home. I was out on my own, and that's when I started trying to find any drug that could take the pain away.
So my first impression of Charlie's story was how absolutely tragic it is, and how very similar it is compared to the other clients that we see at Headwaters Counseling, people who are dealing with drug addiction, abuse as a child, and it starts oftentimes in childhood.
When I was 18, I went to a park with my friends. We were on the playground, drinking whiskey, having a good time. Then one of my friends told me that I couldn't slide on his slide. I didn't like that. So I snapped. I started punching at him, and I started punching at everyone, screaming. I was yelling. And the only thing I remember after that was the police pulling me off of them and escorting me to the car. And they told me that I was going to go back to Headwaters Counseling.
So when Charlie first came into group, he was extremely angry. It was a struggle to get him to participate at first, but after a while, he started to talk a little bit more, opening up more about his drug use, but never about his past. One time in group, a member started talking about how he had been molested as a child, and apparently this triggered something in Charlie, and he just let the anger flow.
I went off on him. And I told him, this isn't the type of place that you need to talk about this kind of thing. You don't talk about that thing here. Nobody cares.
So I pulled him out of group. I said, hey, you know what? You could probably benefit from individual sessions.
We found that my anger centered a lot around my mother and Jay and what she let him do to me.
We made sure that he had safe people he could go to, ways to calm himself down. Is what we made sure of.
I was starting to put the past behind me. Well, after one of my sessions on my way back home, this car pulls up to me. A couple people inside, they're asking me for directions, and while I'm telling them the directions, they both pull out guns and they shoot at me. Everything after that was a blur. I've been through quite a few surgeries. I found out that it was the guy from the park that put his friends up to it. And they were supposed to just scare me. But it worked. It worked very well. Because after that, I shut myself in the house. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't want to make contact with anybody. I didn't go to work. If I ordered a pizza, I would have to leave instructions out there for the pizza man to leave the pizza at the front of the door. I had lost my job because I didn't want to leave the house. I was afraid that they were going to come back and finish the job.
After the accident, I was extremely worried about Charlie. I was afraid that he was going to relapse on his drug of choice. And just to make sure that he was using the coping skills.
Elizabeth tried to contact me many times, and when I finally answered, she reminded me of the progress that we had made.
So his NA sponsor was able to convince him to come back to the program and fulfill it in its entirety.
I went back and we started making progress again.
With Charlie's depression and anxiety, I wanted to make sure that he was checked out by a doctor. Mentally, he needed a doctor to see if any medication could help him out through this process. So he went to his doctor, got on some anti-anxiety, antidepressants.
After that, I felt great. I was able to get out of the house more. I didn't feel trapped. Headwaters counseling made a lot of the difference. Well, anybody that needs help with mental health, I would recommend getting counseling as soon as possible. If I would have been on that program from when I was a kid and I would have stayed on that program, a lot of things that have happened to me would have been different. I wouldn't have had so many issues with controlling my anger. Drugs and the alcohol, they wouldn't have really been present in my life at all. I would have just been in a better place and on a better path. If I could say anything to my therapist, I would say thank you. I've become so loving and trusting now. I wouldn't be like this if it wasn't for you. So thank you.